We are in Exodus chapter 11, 1 through 10, which is the whole chapter 11. And we're also going to look at chapter 12, 29 to 32. And the way the text is organized over the next couple chapters is, in my mind, it's a little disjointed. We begin with kind of a threat of this final plague, and then we end up with almost a parenthetical section where God discusses the Passover, the people get ready for the Passover, and then of course we've got the last plague that comes, and then the Exodus happens and all that. So the way we're going to organize things tonight is we're going to take a look at the last plague as a whole, the threat of the plague in 11, and then when the plague comes in 12, 29 to 32. And then next week, Lord willing, what we'll do is we'll look at the Passover, and we'll talk about that in and of itself, and then we'll talk about the Exodus and then the Passover. I'm not quite sure. We'll do those two things on another night. So we're going to begin this evening by looking at Exodus chapter 11, 1 through 10, and chapter 12, 29 to 32. All right, so here we go. Exodus 11, 1 through 10 says, the Lord said to Moses, yet one plague more, and I will bring upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt. Afterwards, he will let you go from here. When he lets you go, he will drive you away completely. Speak now in the hearing of the people, that they ask every man of his neighbor and every woman of her neighbor for silver and gold jewelry. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. Moreover, the man Moses was very great in the land of Egypt, in the sight of Pharaoh's servants and in the sight of the people. So Moses said, thus says the Lord, about midnight I will go out in the midst of Egypt, and every firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sits on the throne, sits on his throne, even to the firstborn of the slave girl who is behind the handmill, and all the firstborn of the cattle. There shall be a great cry throughout all the land of Egypt, such as there has never been, nor ever will be again. But not a dog shall growl against any of the people of Israel, either man or beast, that you may know that the Lord makes a distinction between Egypt and Israel. And all these your servants shall come down to me and bow down to me, saying, get out, you and all the people who follow you, and after that I will go out. And he went out from Pharaoh in hot anger. Then the Lord said to Moses, Pharaoh will not listen to you, that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Egypt. Moses and Aaron did all these wonders before Pharaoh, and the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he did not let the people of Israel go out of his land. Exodus 12, 29 through 32 says, at midnight the Lord struck down all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sat on his throne to the firstborn of the captive who was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of the livestock. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants and all the Egyptians. And there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where someone was not dead. Then he summoned Moses and Aaron by night and said, up, go out from among my people, both you and the people of Israel, and go, serve the Lord, as you have said. Take your flocks and your herds, as you have said, and be gone, and bless me also. All right, so what did God tell Moses to do in preparation for this last plague? What did God tell Moses to do in preparation for this last plague?
Ask for silver and gold jewelry.
That's right, to go and ask for silver and gold jewelry, to talk to their neighbors, to get some stuff from their neighbors. Now, why does God have the people do this? Why is he having them ask their neighbors for silver and gold jewelry? Okay, it was going to be needed. It was going to be needed. Yeah, he's it's going to be needed for the tabernacle and some of those things. It's also a way of just providing for the people. So God is providing for what they need and what they're going to need in order to build the tabernacle furniture and all those kinds of things. How do the Egyptians feel about the Israelites and Moses?
I think by that time they were ready to get rid of it.
All right, some of them are ready to get rid of these people, right? Well, we know that's true from earlier plagues, right? Because earlier plagues, the people will even say to Pharaoh that, why are you keeping these people here? Let them go. Let them go. You're ruining the whole nation, right? You're ruining this whole land. So why don't you just let them leave? So definitely some of the people have kind of had it. They just want to get rid of them. But what else is going on? Go ahead.
The text says he was highly regarded.
That's right. That's right. They are favorable towards the Israelites, right? You read the text, and it says that the Egyptians were favorable towards the Israelites. Why might they be favorable?
I'm sure they've heard that Moses can take these plagues away by praying to God.
Okay, so maybe they understand that Pharaoh, that these plagues can be taken away from Moses doing that. What were you saying?
Because I think we're beginning to see what the Egyptians or the Israelites got to do. I think we're starting to see that maybe have a little faith or.
Yeah, they're definitely. Yeah, there's a respect that's beginning to grow among. That's really what's going on, right? The Egyptians view the Israelite people as a whole. They're having a respect for them, a favor, right? There's a regard for these people, and then of course there's something even more for Moses. Moses is highly regarded, right? He's people look up to him who are not even Israelites. They at least respect him highly. And again, it's probably due to all of these plagues that are going on, those kinds of things. But there's also a recognition, isn't there? And the text even draws this out, that there's a recognition between the Egyptians and the Israelites. God has made that distinction a number of times. And of course, he's even making distinctions between people who would listen to his commands and follow what he has to say. Remember, when God says any animal or servant that's left out in the field, they're going to be struck down by the hail, take them in. There were some Egyptians, some non-Israelite people who did just that, and their people were spared. So there's a lot going on here with the Israelites, with Moses and Aaron, and with the Egyptian people as a whole. And they're really starting to get the picture here that the God of the slaves, and I keep emphasizing that because that's important. These were slaves. The God of the slaves is God of gods. He's God over all of the gods of Egypt. They're seeing, you have to believe that they're seeing their gods are subservient to Yahweh, the one true God. And that's important for everybody to see. That's for sure. All right, so what is this 10th and final plague? What is it? Death of the firstborn, right? Absolutely. Now, how bad is this plague? What does the text say? How bad is it?
Covers everybody, including the Israelites. They don't follow that command.
Yes, we didn't look at the command there. That we'll look at as part of the Passover and all that. But you're right. God gave certain commands. Anybody who did not follow the command to put the blood on the doorposts and follow the Passover stipulations, then their house was going to receive this. But it was pretty bad, wasn't it? What did it say about not one house escaping? Yeah, that not even one house was without a death in it. Obviously, that would be those who didn't follow the command to, obey God in the Passover preparations and all that.
Was that provided to everyone or just the Israelites?
Well, it would be provided to anybody who heard that message. And again, we'll deal in depth with that next week and stuff. But yeah, God is giving people the opportunity to feel some relief from these plagues if they will listen to him. Because he's making that distinction again. He's trying to show and teach lessons through all of this. But it's pretty bad. This is bad. This is going to be one of the worst things in all Egyptian history. Now, the text says a number of times, it says it here and it says it earlier on, that something to the effect of I don't have it up, but such as has never been before nor ever will be, right? Do you remember reading that in the text? Something to that effect. That phrase is really just a way of saying this was really, really, really bad. They likely have never experienced anything like this particular plague before or since, but you'll find that phrase elsewhere in the scriptures, and it doesn't mean that there's nothing worse that ever happens. It means that there's an emphasis here. This is something unique, that's true, and it's really, really bad. It's a way of kind of underlining. If you wanted to stress the importance of something, or if you wanted to stress, let's say in a text message, that you were angry, how would you do it? All capital letters, right? I remember when texting first started out and emails were first starting out, people would get angry and be upset because some people didn't understand the cap lock button and they would be typing in all capitals. And I remember somebody saying, "Why are you shouting at me?" And they weren't, but that's kind of what it is. Well, that phraseology, such has never been before nor ever will be, is like that. It's a way of underlining the seriousness of this, the uniqueness of it, and that it's really pretty bad. All right.
What verse is that that you're referencing? That there's never been anything like it before. Where is that? I've lost it in my text.
Verse 6, I'm told. I was going to go back and go to my slide.
Yeah.
On there, but verse 6.
Yeah, I see. Okay, thank you.
Got it?
Got it.
Underline that, because you're going to find that, or make a note or something. You're going to find that throughout the rest of the Old Testament as well. And it doesn't mean that something worse didn't happen. For example, I would say the flood of Noah's day was worse than this, because the flood of Noah's day wiped out everybody but 8 people. But this is a way of saying that this is extremely unique, this is extremely important, and this is really bad. It's really, really, really bad. And it's unlike what you are likely to see even in a normal bad situation. This is really, really bad. All right, so what god is being attacked in this plague? Anybody know what god is being attacked? A fertility one. Good guess. Good guess. Anybody else want to take a guess what god is being attacked? All right. I won't make you wait. This last plague is a direct attack on Pharaoh. Pharaoh was the Egyptian god king. The pharaohs were the pinnacle of the Egyptian society. They were seen as a god on earth. They were often worshipped while they were living and after they died. And the eldest son, which would be what? Firstborn. It'd be the firstborn, right? The firstborn son, the oldest son of the pharaoh, when that pharaoh died, they took that place. They took that position. They were the next Pharaoh. One article said this about Pharaoh. It said the Egyptians believed their Pharaoh to be the mediator between the gods and the world of men. After death, the Pharaoh became divine, although they thought of him as divine quite often, even while alive. Identified him with Osiris, the father of Horus and the god of the dead, and passed on his sacred power and position to the new Pharaoh, his son. So this attack on the firstborn is a direct attack on Pharaoh. Now, Pharaoh's not the only one being attacked, because every firstborn is being attacked. But if Pharaoh is a god on earth, and the next Pharaoh in line who is going to be a god on earth is the firstborn son, God is saying, even you are not more powerful than I am. This is a direct attack on Pharaoh, and God is going to emphasize that by taking out every firstborn of man and beast. Why the death of the firstborn? Well, it's to show God's power over even Pharaoh. Because remember, Pharaoh thinks he's a god on earth. Yahweh's making it clear that Pharaoh is not a god, that he is powerless to stand before him. In the end, what does everybody involved know for sure?
God is God.
Yeah. God is God. Not only is he God, he is the God of gods. He is the Lord of lords. He is the King of kings. He is the one who has all control and all power. Does Pharaoh have authority and power?
Yeah.
He does. Who has more authority and power? Yeah. The God of the slaves. Ding, ding, ding. You get it. The God of the slaves. The God of the slaves is more powerful than Pharaoh, who is the God on earth. More powerful than the sun god, Re. More powerful than, and you go through all of the Egyptian gods. Do you see what God is doing with all these 10 plagues? It's not for no reason. It's not just haphazard. It's a direct attack. And we're told this. God says he is attacking these gods. He doesn't name them, but he says all the gods of the Egyptians, he's bringing them low. He's showing them who's actually boss. So does Pharaoh know that Yahweh is in control? Is Pharaoh going to let the people go?
No, to the second one.
He
I mean, at the end, yeah.
He does?
He runs the map pretty much like what.
Yeah. At the end, right? Chapter 12?
On some level, he does know
He does know what?
that God is the God.
He knows now. He knows now.
It still changes his mind.
Yes, pride will get a hold of him later, right? Pride, arrogance, prompting of people, all that kind of stuff. Can we be prodded into doing ungodly things by people we surround ourselves with? We can be. We could be swayed, right? That's why Paul will say, bad company, say it, corrupts good morals, because we can be swayed by the people around us. But at this point, Pharaoh knows. In fact, he kind of knew it a couple times ago, didn't he? Because even one time, yeah, stubborn, prideful, absolutely. And finally, he loses his heir. Was the firstborn an important child in the ancient world? Yeah, not just for Pharaoh though, right? For the ancient world, this was a big concept. So it wasn't just for the Egyptians, it was for everybody. Think about what happens with Abraham and Isaac and all that kind of stuff. We see the firstborn. There's something special about the firstborn, even in the ancient world. And so he loses his heir, he loses his firstborn, he loses the next God on earth, all that. And finally, he's brought so low that he has to, not only has to let the people go, he's ready to rush them out. Now, he says, and bless me also at the end there. Do you think he's looking for a blessing? Or what do you think he's saying there? Just curious of what you think. You see where it says, bless me also at the end? Let me go back here. Go up and out among the people, both you and the people of Israel, and go and serve the Lord as you have said. Take your flocks and your herds, as you have said, and be gone, and bless me also. It's verse 32. I don't know if he's asking for a blessing, to be honest. I don't know. I don't know if that's what he's doing. He might be, or it might be a little sarcastic or something. I'm not quite sure how to read that. I was just curious as to what each of you thought about that. He might be asking for a blessing, but in the context of it, it almost seems like just get out of here. Just get out. Maybe as a last ditch effort, he might be saying, bless me on your way out, kind of thing. Is Pharaoh at the end of his ropes? I think so. I think he's at the end. So Pharaoh knows that Yahweh is the one true God. Well, one true God. He knows that he's the God above all gods. Do the Egyptians know that Yahweh is the God above all gods? Yeah, absolutely. Does Moses and Aaron know that? Yeah. They questioned what was going on with God in the beginning, didn't they? When remember they go in and they say, God says, let my people go, right? And then Pharaoh says, no, I'm going to make things worse for him, right? Remember Moses goes to the Lord, goes to Yahweh and says, why did you bring me here? Why did this happen? Things are worse. So even Moses needed to get a clue, right? He needed to be informed. He needed part of this study. So Moses and Aaron know. And of course, the Israelites know. Do they know? Do they know that Yahweh is the God above all gods? The Israelites? I think they do, right? At least those who, and we'll talk about this, but those who follow the Passover requirements, they certainly believe and go out. Now we're going to get there, but keep all this in mind, because I just want you to kind of think off in the future, what did the people end up doing? Going after other gods, grumbling, right? There's a lot of things that end up happening later on. Blame God. Yeah, they do all that kind of stuff. But at this moment, they should have known. Don't you think if it were you, you would have known better? Paul says no. Anybody else?
Probably know better. That doesn't mean it's not. I mean, I think we all know that we still have those moments of
Yeah.
we're in the moment, and so this is like what it is right now, even though.
Yeah, I was talking to, it might have been Tim, I can't remember. I was talking to somebody about this, and we were saying, we would do the same thing. Very likely, we would be doing the same thing. And in fact, the question really becomes, are we doing the same thing at times today? Do we trust God at all times? Or do we waver sometimes? Do we forget sometimes? Do we go against God's word sometimes? Even though God has been faithful to us in the past. All right, I think we could kind of we didn't experience the same things they did. But just because if we were back then and experienced those things does not mean that we wouldn't grumble, complain, blame God, those kinds of things.
This point in time, the Israelites,
Yeah.
because this is, generation scale, were they following God at that point?
No, there's been a loss. You'll see this over and over again in the Israelite
So it's not bringing them
generations. Yes, yes. Remember that Moses, there's an issue of circumcision that happens with Moses even before he gets here, right? Didn't keep that kind of thing. So there's a loss. And there's a lesson in that for us today, too. Every generation needs to know the Lord. God doesn't have any grandkids. Every generation. And part of our job is to make sure the next generation knows the Lord as best they can, that we have done our part, right? Israel was over and over again told, tell your children. When they ask, tell them. When we do this, tell them. We have some memorials. We have some things that we do over and over again as well, don't we? What do we do weekly? We do the communion. We do the Lord's Supper weekly. And we've talked about this before. That's a great opportunity for us to tell our children. When they're asking as it's being passed around, we ought to be explaining what's going on. What a great opportunity. We shouldn't hush them up in the midst of that. That's a great opportunity. Why are we doing it? Now, you want to make sure you're not being, disruptive in the congregation. But why are you guys doing that? Well, that's a great opportunity to tell them about the Christian Exodus, right? Let the next generation know. So yeah, there's a loss of information that happens over and over and over again throughout Israelite history. All right, we are running out of time, so let me give you the homework question here tonight, and then we will close in prayer. So the question is, do we ever look, I should say two, do we ever look to people or things for our hope, for our joy, or comfort, rather than look to God? Do we ever look to the things of this world? Do we ever look to other people instead of, not in connection with, but instead of God? Something to think about this week. All right, questions, thoughts, comments, concerns?
I always have this picture of all the babies died.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily babies. I mean, the first one could be, and I think in fact Pharaoh's son was a little bit older in years, wasn't he? Perhaps.
You know what? I'm not sure. I don't know. I'd have to go look to see if it says, but I don't know.
No household would not be affected. So my question is, if you are a firstborn,
Yeah.
but you're already grown and gone from your parents' house, does that still affect you as a firstborn?
I would say yes, but there's no way of necessarily.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there could have been multiple deaths. Let's say, because I'm the firstborn, and then I die, and my son. That may very well be the case. This was bad. That is not beyond possibility. God said every firstborn.
I never thought of that before.
So, and it would be in line with. I think that's probably the way we should take it. And that would be in line with every other plague, wouldn't it? Because you look at the plagues that devastated, first of all, God devastates the animals. They have these sicknesses. Most of them probably died. Then they have the hail, which kills any more that are left out there. Then you've got the hail, it kills the crops, right? Destroys the crops and the trees. Then what happens after that? The locusts come and they strip everything. I mean, this is utter devastation. The land of Egypt is in shambles at this time. This is really, this is bad. So I think that's probably the way we should understand this, that every firstborn died. So you could have in the same household multiple deaths. And it was the animals too. What did the animals do? but the animals are affected throughout the whole thing. I don't know what they've got left for animals. Can you imagine? What do they have left? They probably have very little, animals left anyways. But yeah, this is really, 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 really bad. This is not good. All right. Any other questions, thoughts? All right.